What Did We Learn is brought to you by Fortis College. Visit fortis.edu.
Joining us now on the show is Jason Skaer, who is a representative for the Positive Coaching Alliance. He is the regional executive director for Texas for the Positive Coaching Alliance. He played college basketball at Oklahoma State University and at Rice, and he's from here in Houston, or played for Deer Park, was a Deer Park High School star. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Welcome, Jason. We're happy you're here.
Thank you.
Let's jump right into it. One of the things your organization is discussing this week is how do coaches and parents deal with young athletes, most of whom had their seasons completely shut down. A couple of weeks ago, we visited with the players out at Yates High School, and they were all excited about going to the state tournament and potentially winning a state championship. Well, they got to San Antonio for the tournament, drove by the stadium, but then were told the tournament had been canceled and had to turn around and come back to Houston. What do you say to these young athletes and others who are playing Little League ball and Pee Wee basketball and volleyball and softball, and who are all thinking, hey, I'm healthy, I can play. Where are the games? What's going on? They're very frustrated. What do you say to them?
It's a very difficult thing, right? Because sports is so important to us, and we're certainly passionate about it. I've got 7 kids in my house, 6 boys and 1 girl that all play sports. As you mentioned, I played in high school, I played in college, I played in pro, so I understand how personal and passionate it is. But essentially, we're trying to tell kids 3 different things at this current time, whether you're a parent or a coach. One, we tell them, hey, this is a good time to care. Care about other people. Obviously, the world is bigger than basketball or football or whatever sport you're involved in. There's a lot of people hurting right now, a lot of people struggling. So it's a good time to reach out and care for people around you. Secondly, we tell them that it's also a good time to communicate. And thankfully, these days, we can do that better than we could have 10 or 20 or 30 years ago when I was playing as a young kid. We've got all this technology. We can still reach out to our friends and our teammates and our coaches. And lots of schools are doing that right now, which I think is helpful. And then lastly, the third thing I'd always tell parents and coaches and players is it's a good time to create. Now is an opportunity to kind of do some different things, come up with some new ideas. I was telling somebody earlier, our kids yesterday were watching the YouTube video of a dunk contest in the NBA, and they were trying to recreate those dunks out front in the front yard. There's 1,000 different things you can do, so it's a good time to be creative as well.
And Jason, speaking of those 1,000 different things, that sounds so much fun. I'm sure the kids were enjoying the recreating the dunk contest, but it is a difficult time for the entire nation, the entire globe. How do you stay connected, and how do you keep that motivation going, knowing that I don't know if the season's going to continue. I don't know if it's just going to hop onto next year and completely axe. How do you stay motivated and positive?
Yeah, that's difficult. And, we're in the early stages of all of this, obviously. And, just 10 days ago, we were all at the XFL game, and then we went to the rodeo, and then we went to the Rockets game. And then a week later, it's like, don't leave your house, and all your seasons are canceled. So, we're using this as a time to work on skills. There's a lot of drills we can do in our driveway or in our backyard. There's lots of great online resources like the Masterclass. I know Steph Curry has a great thing for basketball that some kids love to watch. But I think the more you can communicate with teammates and coaches, the better you can be motivated, because once you get isolated, I think that's where most of the problems can pop up.
I know this is a completely different situation, but is it some of the techniques that you're talking about are also fit in when a player is injured and going to be out for quite a while?
Yeah, absolutely. Part of our mission is to teach resiliency in kids and in coaches and in parents. And sports, as most of us can attest to, taught us how to work hard and work through adversity. And this is obviously a unique circumstance and opportunity to do that. But it's not going to be the last time, right? Whether it's a hurricane like it was with Harvey, or now with this virus, or an injury that comes up, there's going to be some adversity along the road. And this is a great opportunity to learn and grow.
All right, let's get into the Positive Coaching Alliance. And the organization has really blossomed over the years with a lot of parents gravitating to it, a lot of coaches gravitating towards the organization. There's certainly different styles of coaching, and everybody brings their own personality to it. But you guys are not trying to change personalities per se, you're more trying to change methodology.
Yeah, we want to change the culture and the environment of sports. And I think what we've seen through scientific research, through practical study and evaluation, is that an encouraging, empowering, open culture and environment is what keeps kids playing sports. And so we know that there are a ton of life lessons that kids can learn through sports. And so if they're dropping out because of poor experiences that they've had with coaches or parents, then they're losing out on that platform to learn those life lessons. And so our whole goal is to develop better athletes. We want them to be better athletes, better at their sports, better coaches. We want them to win more. We're not opposed to any of that. But most importantly, we want them to become better people. Sports is a tremendous platform to learn life lessons and character traits that'll translate well beyond their playing days. And so, there's lots of different ways to coach. There's lots of different ways to communicate. And I played for Eddie Sutton at Oklahoma State, which is kind of an old school, grind your way through it. And my dad was a high school coach for a long time. I coach a lot of our kids. We all have our own way and our own personality. But I think what we can all agree on is that we want kids to have a positive experience. We want it to be fun for them. We want it to develop and learn life lessons and teamwork and all the good things that come with that.
Now, take us through. I was just going to add, in 1995, leading OKC to the Final Four. So these guys that were all ready for this March Madness, what are they feeling right now since you've been in those shoes?
Oh, to me, we talked at our dinner table last night. What are the things that you miss the most from kind of the real world and what used to be, even a week ago? And the thing that I said, I miss March Madness. I miss being able to. It all would have started yesterday, and that would have passed a lot of time as we're all locked in our house. But you miss the camaraderie and you miss the teammates. We just had our 25-year reunion for that team you spoke about. And so we were all in Stillwater just a couple of weeks ago. And those bonds, they never die. So it's great to see all those guys. I think what we're all learning as a society is how important sports are to our culture and our society. And it's not to overshadow the important things and obviously the crisis that we're all going through. But sports is a release for a lot of us. And for so many of us, we play and we coach and we watch our kids. And to have that missing, it leaves a void in our culture for sure.
You say that, it's a release, and a lot of people describe it as, a fantasy world away from the real world. But part of the reason that there's a need for an organization like yours is that some people take it far too seriously and they push it too far. I know you mentioned Eddie Sutton. I know he was a grinder and he was hard on you guys and he cussed people out. But like a Tony Dungy who doesn't curse at all can win a Super Bowl by doing it that way. And I don't know if you saw a story today, but Detroit Lions head coach and a player got into it because the coach said something very vulgar to the player. And It's like the people who believe that that's the best way to motivate. Well, this guy played for 2 more seasons there. And he said from that first day when the coach called him out and said that disgusting thing to him, he never respected him again. So the coach lost a heck of a player by just going too far in their first meeting.
Yeah, I think all of us could look back on our childhood and we could probably name every coach that we had. And they had an influence on us for better or for worse. And I don't think that adults realize enough how important and how impactful their statements and their way of communicating to kids can be. And so it's not just trying to avoid the negative, which we need to do. And I think society is becoming more aware of, hey, the win at all cost mentality is counterproductive. But it's more than that. We want to be on the front lines of positivity and encouragement because there's so many kids out there today that are facing stresses and factors that we just didn't have to deal with frankly, growing up. And so the world's a different place now, and we need to encourage kids. It's amazing with just one encouraging word can be to a kid. Like I said, I coach a lot of basketball teams here with my kids and in the area. These kids aren't going to grow up to be professional athletes and college athletes, most of them. As I tell everybody, you're all going to get cut at some point, whether it's in junior high or whether it's in the pros. But you want to have fun, you want to grow, you want to develop, you want to learn what it means to be a good teammate. And coaches set the pace for that.
With the Positive Coaches Alliance, what is that process when you're helping these kids with their adversities, whether it's something right now globally shut down of sports or them having a bad day, a bad game? What is the process? Is it kind of mentoring as a one-on-one coaching with them in the gym? Is it off to the side doing a counseling type situation? What is the process of it all?
Yeah, it all varies on which situation you're in. There's no magic formula that fixes everything. But I will say, one of the things we say is we want to use a 5-to-1 ratio of encouraging a kid versus correcting a kid. And so, we want to give them 5 things that we're excited about that we can point out that they're doing right, as opposed to the one thing that they could work on and improve upon, especially in the early ages. I understand once you get into high school and college and pros, it becomes a little bit of a different game there. But especially with the youth sports environment, you want to be overly encouraging in a lot of ways. And then also what we tell is if you're going to have a criticism, if you're going to have a critique, to do that privately, not to call them out in front of their teammates. There's no need to shame a 6-year-old for not running it out to first base. You can pull him aside and say, hey, look, part of what we want to encourage is working hard all the time. So that means running all the way through first base, something simple like that. But we want to do those in private moments. And then, with the parents, which especially in the youth scene is equally as important. I tell all the parents, hey, look, don't yell at the referees from the stands. Don't yell at me. Don't yell at your kids. If you have an issue, come to me privately and I'll address it with Johnny or the referee or whoever it needs to be. But your job from the stands is to cheer and to applaud and encourage your kids. And your job on the car ride home is to cheer and applaud and encourage your kids. Let the coaches coach. Let the referees referee. Let the kids play. And you be the cheerleading parent from the sideline.
That's very important. You can't stress that enough, because we've all seen parents who seem to take it too far. And I dread what those kids' lives are like as soon as they get in the car from those games, where you can tell how the parent acts in public. You can only imagine how they are in private. And some of that is really scary.
It can be really scary because then you're talking about more than just sports. You're talking about a kid's self-esteem. You're talking about the way he looks at life, the way that he or she's going to eventually parent and coach. A lot of us have a tendency to coach and parent the way we were coached and parented. And so they have a huge role to play there. And yeah, we've all seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of sports parenting. I was in a game just a few weeks ago, and the opposing coach, his daughter was playing on the basketball team, and she literally cried for 3 out of the 4 quarters. It was crushing and devastating, and you're so concerned for kids and parents.
Yeah, very sad. Hey, one thing to wrap it up, and I'll let you take us out with this one, Jason. What are you telling people? What are you thinking of telling people? Because we know this is going to end, and one day, whether it's a month from now, 2 months, 6 months from now, all of these athletes and all of these teams will be back together for their first time. What kind of a positive encouragement can you give and say the messages that you want them to take back to the field and the courts?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I would use this as a time to prepare. Like, you can work on your skills. You can come back actually a better athlete. This is going to give you more time to work on more things than you would normally have. And at the end of the day, I think what this is all going to teach us is an appreciation, not just for sports, but for one another, and the ability to gather and to go to a game and to play in a game and to cheer one another on. I think we've all been reminded how important that is to our culture and our society.
Thanks a lot, Jason.
It definitely
Positive
is.
Coaches Line. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jason.